On today's episode of Titus and Tate, we are back from a holiday break, and boy, do we have some catching up to do, Tate.
So
There's
much
been quite a
catching up.
few quite a few developments in the world of college basketball. Last night Purdue lost to Rutgers.
We're at
Rutgers.
basketball.
Um, yeah, Purdue, the number one team in the country, lost to Rutgers with Robbie Hummel on the call. If that sounds like if you're saying to yourself, wait, am I listening to an episode from last year? No, you're not. You're not. That happened last year. It happened this year. The number one Purdue Boilermakers lose a 1 point game to Rutgers.
Turns out that
with
history repeats itself as it's prone to do. And Robbie Hummel, I mean, we're close to the time where we have to call it the Robbie curse. I think Robbie should not be calling these games.
I don't know why that's so funny. It must be because we know Robbie personally, but just to have an all-time legend on the call when the 2 seasons that you've been number one in the history of the program, and one of your all-time legends is there calling the game, and you lose as the no. I shouldn't be laughing. I'm a Purdue booster. I'm very torn up by what happened. Right. Also, the number 2 team, Tate, at the time, the UConn Huskies, they lost at Xavier. UConn was a team that was blowing everybody out. That was kind of the narrative around this team. The blowout came for them ish. Not really. They weren't blown out, but they lost by 10. So, if you're a Xavier fan, you're like, that's a blowout. Double digits. Yeah, double digits.
For a lot of people in the national media, they finally saw the fact that Sean Miller is alive and well, and he is back at Xavier, and it feels like deja vu, and he's a winner again. In a world where Sean Miller was dead, he's back and better than ever.
Not only is he back at Xavier, he is there is like this push. The image makeover, he's already locked up the image makeover of the year, Duffy. He's turned into like an underdog, likable. And I'm just observing. I'm not like fighting either side. That was always the hilarious part of the Schlabach Miller stuff, is like Schlabach was obviously in over his head with the journalism he was doing, and that was hilarious to me. But then also I was like, I'm not gonna go to bat for Sean Miller of all people. Like, Sean Miller's he's not Tony Bennett, like I'm not gonna but somehow he's positioned himself as like a Tony Bennett type. He's like,
everyone loves
the most lovable. He's like the most lovable guy, and everyone wants to pinch his cheeks and hug him. And then they're like, let's mic up Sean Miller. Let's cut to Sean Miller. And he's like, you mother.
He's like slamming his clipboard down, and they're like, "Oh, Sean Miller, look how in love with the game he is." Yeah,
it's so good to see him back at Xavier, that lovable guy. But no, man, it was a good win, and he coached circles around Dan Hurley, and we'll talk about that a little bit.
We will talk about that.
Yeah, we will definitely talk about that. But quickly, Tate, just to run a quick recap of everything that I jotted down. Kansas needed a miracle to beat Oklahoma State. We almost got the Bill Self special in Lawrence. Mm-hmm. Houston had a close game against UCF. Texas scrapes by Oklahoma. That was a close one. Arizona was blowing out Arizona State until they weren't. Until they weren't. And that rivalry is wild. I don't know how every single game at Arizona State always seems to be I guess wonky would be the word, Tate.
Right.
But that's always crazy. UCLA survives against Washington State of all teams. New Mexico, our last undefeated team, was almost not undefeated. They needed a last second bucket to beat Wyoming. Baylor's blown out at Iowa State. Kentucky's season is already over, and John Calipari is officially fired by Kentucky fans. He's just going to keep doing the job throughout the rest of the year, I guess. The point is, there's a ton to catch up on. We're going to do our best to do that today. But first,
Woody Durham.
All right, it is Tuesday morning. We are back from it's been a long break, dude. Way too long. I don't know what the hell happened. Who do we blame for this? Like, we blame I don't know.
I think it goes all the way to the top. And I never know who the top is, but I feel like at one point we decided it was VCU, so I will blame VCU and or Condoleezza Rice, because I feel like Condoleezza Rice is a hot topic again. Everyone wants to hire her, so let's just point to her. I mean,
dude, how about it's been so long that there was something that happened in our world that I felt like would have led the show and been like 20 minutes of the show, and if not for you just mentioning Condoleezza Rice's name, I would have completely forgotten about it, and we probably wouldn't have even talked about it at all today. But Kevin Warren apparently doesn't want to be the Big Ten commissioner anymore and wants to get back into the NFL, and if you're a true friend of the program, you see that story and your mind goes immediately one place, and you say Commissioner Condoleezza. That's where we're headed.
Right.
Why is she going to be the Big Ten commissioner? How does it make any sense? Nobody knows. Nobody cares. It's just going to happen. I mean, I think like people who don't follow our show are like, it's probably Gene Smith. I mean, when you look at or Barry Alvarez, like you think of like the power players in the Big Ten and the administrative world, like those are two names that come to mind as guys who might replace Kevin Warren if he goes back to the NFL. No, not the case. I'm here to tell you it's going to be Condoleezza Rice. My sources have confirmed she is the candidate. If Tate, that is assuming if she doesn't also coach the Denver Broncos.
Right. She's up for
if she coaches the Broncos, she will not be the Big Ten commissioner.
Well, she's the greatest leader we've ever seen, so she can honestly do anything, which I do appreciate that fact. I also love that everyone is saying that Kevin Warren is going to be the CEO of the Bears. I didn't even know that was a position, by the way.
Yeah, I didn't either.
The CEO of the Bears, and he's going to hire Jim Harbaugh to be the head coach. That is,
well, there you go.
Rumors are swirling. It's a Big Ten takeover in Chicago. Congratulations to the Big Ten and all the Big Ten faithful. You did it. It just means more. We now run the Bears. I like that. The Big Ten runs.
That reminds me. It reminds me when Brad Stevens was no longer the Celtics coach, and then what is Brad's title? Is he the president? He's not, because like Danny was the president, right?
And then the GM, right? Isn't he both? Doesn't he have both titles? Or
I don't know. But then it dawned on me, like when he stopped being the coach and then he went to the front office, and I was like, holy shit, did he get fired and like demoted? But then like, the Boston media machine was like, oh my God, what a great promotion for Brad Stevens.
Right. I
was like, is it? I thought Danny, like, what the hell's going on here? But then Danny goes to Utah, but then like every time the Celtics would do anything good, everyone would be like, this is Danny Ainge at work again. So I was like, is Danny Ainge working for Utah and Boston at the same? It's all very confusing. And then the same sort of thing happens like with Jerry West, where like Jerry West is like somehow whatever team he's working for, he is somehow like, and Pat Riley's this way a little bit, where like there's somehow like the guru, they pull the strings for. They're somehow coaching the team, making all the trades, selling the popcorn, but then also like they have like a more removed role, and they're doing a great job of delegating and not really doing anything. And what is their title? We're not really sure. It's president, but it's also GM, but I don't know. It's all confusing.
And Jerry
what's
West,
the difference between president and GM, I guess?
No, there's no.
I felt that way too. Another one that comes to mind is Larry Bird with the Pacers. Like when he stopped coaching the Pacers, I had no idea what the hell Larry Bird. I didn't even know if he was on the payroll anymore. Like they would just, like he would always sit in that same seat at Conseco Fieldhouse next to the tunnel and cry. Like we talked about the one time, the guy crossing his arms, leaning up against the wall.
That's who runs.
That was Larry Bird at Conseco Fieldhouse. And they would cut to him during Pacers games and be like, Larry Bird's done a masterful job. I'm like, what is his job? I remember watching the games and be like, I agree. I love Larry Bird. He's if the Pacers ever do anything, I'm going to always give Larry Bird the credit, even now.
Yeah.
But
good pick with
Larry Bird gets credit.
That was a good read. Larry Bird saw it. He saw it.
But can someone explain to me what he's actually doing? I don't understand. Anyway, we're getting off topic. Let's talk about Purdue. The Purdue Boilermakers lost last night to Rutgers.
We're staying in Indiana. So we'll stay in Indiana. We go from the Pacers.
Yeah, all right.
In the tunnel, right to Mackey Arena, where all things are possible if Robbie Hummel was on the call.
The number one team in the country goes down, and I want to say this because I want to start with this is ultimately going to be positive. It's going to sound like negative. It's going to sound like I'm hating on Purdue, but I'm not. It's just going to just come with me on a ride, fellow Purdue fans. Because it's ultimately going to be a positive tape, but I think this was needed for Purdue, for this specific Purdue team. They needed to because I think UConn needed to lose. We'll talk about UConn in a second. That's like a different sort of thing. But Purdue, this is not the number one team in the country. This is not a team that I think should even have national title aspirations. Tate. Again, this sounds like I'm a hater. This sounds like, how could you say that? They have the best player in the country, far away, runaway national player of the year. They were the second to last undefeated team. They look to be the heavy favorites in the Big Ten. On and on and on. I think what happened with Purdue is it went so far, like coming into the season, there were so many questions about the backcourt. There were so many questions about the production loss. You lose Jaden Ivey, you lose Travion Williams, Stefanovic, who was up and down, but was a big time shooter, if nothing else, for Purdue. The Eric Hunter leaves, like there's so many guys that there's so much roster turnover, that there's just questions around Purdue, right? And you have these freshmen stepping in, and it's just unknown whether Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer, like, are those guys going to be good enough to carry? And early returns are great, Tate. And we see at the PK 85, Purdue's beating Gonzaga, they're beating Duke. They look unstoppable. Everything's rolling. And I think like it all happened way too fast, where Purdue went from like I hope, like, if you're a Purdue fan, you're sitting there saying, I hope we can, like, I don't know, be competitive, but like, you're like, I hope we can be at the top of the Big Ten. That's the goal. It's like, I want to compete in the Big Ten this year. Hopefully our young guys can develop. But this is kind of a rebuilding year for us. To suddenly they're coming out of PK 85 like we're the best team in the country and we're going to win the national championship. And I think somewhere along the line, some perspective was lost, where there was just an absurd, unfair expectations placed on two freshman guards that, frankly, again, this is going to sound like I'm saying these. I love both of those guys. Absolutely love them. They are the they're two Indiana. Type of guys that
they're Indiana.
They're Indiana kids, dude. They are as you know, when I did every time I talk about basketball in the state of Indiana, I go crazy, because it's like one of the most important things in the world to me is like the Jimmy Chitwood brand of basketball. That's me. That's who I am at my core. Watching those two dudes play, watching what Purdue basketball has become under Matt Painter is fun for me as a native Indiana guy. But I think like somewhere along the line, like the hype train, pun intended, with Purdue, got out of control. And I think like we needed to step back and say, wait a second, they're starting two freshmen in the backcourt who who are going to be 4-year guys, probably. Maybe one of them's a 3, maybe like one of them's like a Kyle Guy path, like where they in year 3 they blow up, and it's like, I'm not a first round pick, but like, damn, what else is there for me to do here? I'm gonna go, I'm gonna try my hand at professional, but they're probably 4-year guys. And if you think about like any other situation with any other team, they have this Purdue team has 0 NBA players on it, probably. Maybe Zach Edey gets a chance, but there's like no NBA players on the roster. They're starting 2 freshmen in the backcourt. And you start like looking at the checklist, and you're like, why were we saying this is the number 1 team that should be the national title favorite? This is insane, isn't it? Like, shouldn't we wait a little bit to like see how everything plays out? And I guess my ultimate point, Tate, is like, I think this is a good reset for Purdue to lose to Rutgers. Big game coming up on Thursday, by the way, against Ohio State. Like, we can talk about that towards the end of the show, maybe. But I think they just needed like to reset the expectations that there's like a carryover from last year where you're ranked number 1. Obviously the St. Peter's loss leaves a terrible taste in the mouth of Purdue fans. And now you're back to being number 1 this year, and you're like, haha, we did it. Suck it, haters. Like, you thought we were, and I don't think that was the right mindset to have with this team. I think it was supposed to be like, wow, this is great. This is fun that we are better than I thought we were. But let's not get too carried away and say that like, hey, you 2 freshman guys that aren't future NBA players carry us to a national championship, which is literally never happened, ever. This never happened in the history of college basketball. The 2 freshman guards that aren't going to be in the NBA have carried a team to a national title. So why should we expect that now? Is that fair?
That's very fair, because first and foremost, I love the Lawyer family. And I love the Lawyer family because of their confidence. And there was a moment in this game where they cut to Matt Painter's huddle, and they were telling a story on the broadcast. Robbie's telling the story where, Matt Painter said that Fletcher Lawyer, if he had half of his confidence, he would be a happy man, right? That is the kind of confidence that Fletcher Lawyer plays with. Hit a clutch 3 late in this game. Made some clutch free throws after missing 2 free throws, right? He showed some moxie in the moment. So I like Fletcher Lawyer. I like Braden Smith. I think they actually run the offense that Matt Painter wants to run, maybe more so than what we saw last year when you have a talent like Jaden Ivey who's like, I'm just going to go get a bucket, right? Well, that's not always what you want to do when you have this offense that's moving and there's a lot of back cuts and things like that. So in general, I like what Purdue has, but they are freshman guards. And in a moment like this where you have a tough Rutgers team, Matt Painter after the game is like, I kept preaching these guys. They're going to come here. They're going to be ready to fight. They're going to be this. They're going to be that. But when you're freshmen, you hear all that and you're like, okay, and it kind of falls on deaf ears. And then you learn that lesson and then you move forward. And I feel like that's we're waiting for with this Purdue backcourt. They're going to have to learn some lessons. They're going to have to figure it out. And that's why I said on our last show, I didn't want Zach Edey to be number one on my list. I didn't want Purdue to be number one because I wanted them to keep fighting and have that chip on their shoulder. I didn't want them to be the ones that are being hunted. They deserve to have some time to be the hunters. And it just flips so quickly because they're such a well-oiled machine as a group and as a team and as a program that they kind of just jumped ahead of schedule. And then they put themselves in a tough position. We were hoping, we were texting that we had all eyes on January 5th because they're going to come to Ohio State. They're going to come to Columbus. They're going to play a top 20 team. And they're maybe going to get, that lesson learned then on the road. But instead, Rutgers comes to them.
They still might. They still might, by the way. They still
might. But being number one and having that target on your back is tough. And Zach Edey started playing basketball when he was 15. He has the highest PER in the country by a mile. It's like 40 right now, which is insane. I mean, he's doing historic stuff. But at the same time, there's still this next phase of Edey that you want him to get to where that dominance doesn't have to be pushed. Those buttons don't have to be pushed. He just kind of has it. Obviously, foul trouble played a bit in this game, but Rutgers came at them with physicality. They're not going to back down from anyone. Steve Pikiell was a really good basketball coach, and Matt Painter said he tried to preach before the game to get ready for this. They weren't ready, and Rutgers basketball does it again. I mean, now it's becoming a theme at this point, Titus.
Well, I mean, Rutgers
have to be annoyed.
Rutgers, the Big Ten people know this at this point. Pikiell, his Rutgers program is not a joke at all. It's not a.
If you're ranked, you don't want to play Rutgers. I mean, that's pretty much the rule now.
No, I mean Rutgers is this isn't fluky what they do. They do this. The Rutgers' problem is they just have a talent ceiling. So they're never gonna compete for Final Fours. This team, I mean, like this current iteration, the last few years of Rutgers basketball we've seen. I don't mean to say in the future they can't get some New Jersey kid to stay in state and ride him to the Final Four or something, but their issue is they're never going to be like the elite of college basketball. So I feel like to the outside world, you see Rutgers obviously doesn't have a ton of great history with basketball, and they're unranked more often than not. Even now, when they have good teams, that you see Purdue lose to a Rutgers, and you scoff and you laugh and you're like, how does this keep happening?
Yeah.
But anybody that pays any attention to Big Ten basketball and watches the way Rutgers play, like they are just tough as hell, man. They are a nightmare to play against, and that's what I was trying to explain this to my dad when Indiana lost to Rutgers, and he's like, the season's over. I'm like, Dad, you've been watching Rutgers. Like, you saw Rutgers go to Assembly Hall last year and Ron Harper splashed a three in your face and grabbed his nuts. And so, this is nothing new. Like, how many times do we have to see this from Rutgers before we're like, oh, okay, maybe this isn't a fluke. Maybe they just have like a good culture in that program. And they have guys, like I said, their ceiling is not very high, but when you play the way they can muck it up, Tate, they play physical. They play great defense. They're hard-nosed dudes. They're experienced. Mulcahy is like Mulcahy and Cam Spencer, the dude that hit the three for the transfer for Rutgers that hit the three to win the game ultimately. Those guys are both just tough as nails, man. And Caleb McConnell, I love. He didn't really necessarily play great against Purdue, but Amaru is obviously their best player. But like it's that culture that they have there is such that like these sorts of things should not be surprising, but I think to the outside world, maybe they still are. And hopefully beating Purdue for the second straight year as the number one team in the country, still like this won't be a joke anymore. Like not that it is a joke, you know what I'm saying? Like it is, there's just like a sense of like,
they have two top.
I don't like, is Rutgers
over Indiana and now over number one.
Yeah,
ready this season. That's what
they own the state of Indiana, dude.
Right, New Jersey. They
own the state of Indiana because
we are basketball at this point.
Yeah, no, Rutgers owns IU, and I think at this point, having knocked off Purdue twice now in back-to-back years as number one team, I think it's fair to say they own Purdue. But yeah, man, I just think with Purdue, like it's some perspective is nice. Take a deep breath. I think Purdue fans are going to be fighting the fight all year of a narrative building that they are a one-man team and it's Zach Edey and a bunch of bombs. I won't do that to them. Like, I don't think that's not fair because I do like the guys around them. And I think, they're going to be very good, but like you said, the development got rushed. It got like, we should be, this is you come into this season.
It should still be having fun. It should.
Yeah. This is fun. Like we're having fun. Yeah. if Purdue doesn't lose, like what's happened, unfortunately, is now if Purdue doesn't go to the Final Four this year after being ranked number 1 in the country, it's LOL Purdue all over again. And it's like, you guys choked it away, which is like, I don't think Purdue not making the Final Four this year is a choke. I don't think that would be a choke. Last year it was, but this year, I don't think it's fair to put those expectations on this team. I do think these guards, not to cut Ethan Morton out of the equation, who can, I like his game under certain contexts, and I like his role within this team. But these freshman guards,
he doesn't do much else. He plays and he's a spacer. Yeah.
I think in next year, maybe 2 years, like they're juniors, they're senior, whatever, they're gonna talk to me then. I will 100% buy the idea of them leading Purdue to a national championship. I can't get there, dude. I can't. And I know Edey's awesome, and I know he's like Edey is the best player in the country. He's going to win National Player of the Year. Drew Timmy's been playing well lately, and they're guys that are going to have their say by the end of the season. But I don't see Edey's production dropping off anytime soon. And as long as it doesn't, he's going to win National Player of the Year. So I get that, but like you need guard play, you need shooting. Purdue's not shooting the ball particularly well. Fletcher Lawyer has a lot of freshman year John Diebler vibes to him, where he's a great shooter. He's shooting like 6 threes a game, and when he's got a great looking jump shot, and when it goes in, you're like, yeah, this guy is a knock. Is this Larry Bird? He's kind of got a Larry Bird face, a young Larry Bird face to him. But he's also like shooting 30% from the 3-point line. So you're like, what's going on here? I thought you were a good shooter. I just think they're a year or two away with these guys. Next year, the year after, whatever, that like suddenly everything's been rushed and there's been unfair expectations. So I think this is ultimately a good thing. I hope that Purdue fans take a deep breath. They say we can still win the Big Ten, but there was just this talk, dude, especially with like IU not looking as great as we thought they would, and Illinois is falling off a cliff, and Michigan had preseason expectations, and they're a mess. Whatever. I was gonna never mind. Just the mere mention of Michigan basketball, just like, I don't know. I like, do I want to do the 25-minute tangent? No, let's not. Let's just stay on topic here. But there was a sense, Tate, like as January approached, that it is Purdue and it is everybody else in the Big Ten, and there is a mile gap between Purdue and the rest of the league, and yada yada yada. That is unfair for both the rest of the teams in the league who are good. Like Ohio State, I'm starting to like what I'm seeing out of the Buckeyes. State, the Big Ten is good. There are other teams that can compete to win the Big Ten title, but also it's unfair to do that to Purdue, to be like, you guys are head and shoulders better in the Big Ten. If you lose more than 2 Big Ten games this year, you're frauds. You suck. I don't think that's fair to do that to those. So I think this game, everybody take a deep breath, adjust your expectations. You can still win the Big Ten. You can still have a great. Let's not pretend like this group of guys should be a national title or bust team. That's just not what they should be.
Yeah, when Brandon Newman is the guy that's got to hit a shot late for you to win, I don't feel like you're a national title or bust type team. And also, I think if you made a Final Four for the first time since 1980, that would be a good first step. And I think maybe with Edey and things falling right in a bracket, you could do that. So, I mean, you don't want to completely, sell yourself short, but at the same time, don't have these, if we don't win the title, we suck.
Yeah.
We've already gone through that. We don't need that. My question to you is, if you are Robbie Hummel, you work for ESPN, they call you next year, Purdue's number 1, let's say again, Rutgers is up there. Do you say, yes, I would like to call this game? Because I think at this point, if I'm Robbie, I'm saying I would like to watch this within the comfort of my own home. Or I would like to go to the game.
Well, okay, so here's the problem.
I want to call this game.
Here's the problem with that. If Robbie doesn't call the game against Rutgers and Purdue's ranked number 1, he's a Dodger. And also if Purdue wins, then it's confirmed. Then it's 100% confirmed that he is the curse. Whereas I think if you're Robbie, you got to just keep stepping into the batter's box and hope you can get a base hit. And then, everyone's like, dude, you're hitting.
You're playing the odds.
Yeah, you're hitting 197.
It happens 5 times in a row. Rutgers has beaten number 1 Purdue 5 years in a row.
Yeah. But I'm saying you're but then like when it happens, you're like, yeah, I'm hitting 197, but I'm also on a 1-game hit streak because I just got a base it, so let's talk about but I'm hot. Don't let me get hot,
Yeah, right.
We just won the 1.
It's like Fletcher Lawyer shooting a 3. You're like, eventually it's gotta go in. It looks too good.
Fletcher Lawyer, you put together all of his makes, and you're like, is this guy the best shooter in the country? And unfortunately, I think you could have a lot of guys you put together there makes it. When you make Shout Tate, it looks good.
Better. Yeah.
But yeah, Purdue, Purdue's gonna be good. I like Purdue. Purdue is a fun team. They're still a fun team. That's what's crazy. It's like they are a very fun team. They've been a revelation in a lot of ways, like of a team that came out of nowhere and has won my heart in a lot of ways. Like you said, they play Indiana brand of basketball. But it's unfair to put lofty expectations on a group that starts 2 freshmen 4-year guards. That's just like insane. Like in what other context would that, even if it was Duke or Kentucky or Carolina, if Carolina was starting 2 freshman guys that you thought were 4-year guys that are not on any mock drafts or any, like if you or I texted Vicini or KOC right now, like what are your thoughts on Braden Smith? They'd be like, who? Oh, Vicini would. KOC would.
KOC's like, I'm gonna go who the hell's that? And then he's gonna come back and say, "Gives me Peyton Pritchard."
Yeah.
Shades of Peyton Pritchard.
Yeah. And again, like he could end up being that. So I don't want Purdue fans to take this the wrong. I'm not saying like this guy's he's not. He's a great basketball player. Braden Smith could play in the NBA eventually. Eventually is the word though. And you got to give them time to develop and unfortunately when you throw a number 1 ranking on a team, you don't get any more time. Now all eyeballs are on you. And if you can't deliver every single night, you're fraudulent and you're phony. And that's where we've arrived.
And it's hard. It's hard for freshmen to lead. Rutgers. Yeah. At the end of the day, it's hard for freshmen to lead. And I think Gillis or Newman or someone like that is going to have to be the quote unquote vocal leader for these guys. And we'll see what happens with that. Maybe it's Mason Gillis.
I think Ethan Morton,
right?
Ethan Morton could be the guy. Yeah. I think Ethan Morton's he's kind of like the wild card. Cause he's not, I don't know, man. Ethan Morton's an interesting dude because he's got the he's a little bit of a do everything type thing, but then sometimes you wonder if that's because he can't really do it. He does not. Yeah, the line between doing everything and doing nothing is very blurry with him.
I agree.
And it's confusing sometimes from game to game.
That's how I feel watching him. And then like Robbie Hummel's like, this guy, look at the spacing that he creates, and I'm like, I guess he does do that. That's nice.
Anyway, we can move on. Let's move on. That was supposed to be dominant and the best team in the country and took a loss and is now fraudulent. UConn Xavier, New Year's Eve. Xavier wins by 10, 83-73. In a game that I felt it wasn't. I teased the idea of it being a blowout because it was a double-digit win. It wasn't a blowout, Tate, but I did feel like Xavier was very close to dominating this game in this sense, Tate, that Xavier set the terms of the game from the start.
Right.
And outside of the 16-5 run to end the first half, when funny enough, it goes to we get Sean Miller mic'd up in the huddle, and he's like, "This team will go on a run against us. It's coming. I'm telling you, boys, the run is coming. They do it to everybody. They're going to do it. Don't let them do it. The run is coming. Don't do it." And all the guys are nodding. They're like, "Yeah, got you. And then immediately UConn goes on a 16-5 run to take the lead into half, and I'm like, this is so perfect. But outside of that stretch, that 5-minute stretch to close the first half, Xavier was in control of the game. And the scoreboard might not say that because it was sort of a close game throughout. But in the way the terms of the way the game was being played, it felt like Xavier had control of this. It felt like from the start, for example, Xavier, it was very clear to me that their strategy was let UConn shoot threes. Let especially Andre Jackson shoot threes. Leave him wide open. You don't want to let Hawkins get going. It's not like Caravan and Hawkins and
Connecticut takes 37 threes in this game.
Yeah.
That was obviously the strategy.
I'm not saying they were letting Calcaterra just be wide open all day, but that was if Connecticut jacks threes and isn't playing through Sonogo, isn't driving the basketball, and is just content passing it around and jacking up threes, whether they go in or not, we're going to be happy with that. They hit 13 threes out of the 37 today, so Connecticut was hitting, but that was Xavier's game plan. And I'm losing my mind. The part of me that's loves this Connecticut team and loves what we've seen from them so far. I'm losing my mind watching this game. How are you falling into this trap over and over? Andre Jackson just kept saying wow, I'm wide open, I should shoot it. Wow, I'm wide open, I should shoot it. Wow, I'm wide open. And he hit 4, I guess, which is he's one of those guys that it's funny because when he hits, you're almost this is bad news for us if you're a Connecticut fan because it means he's going to think he's hot today, so he's going to keep shooting. But yeah, that was Xavier's game plan from the start. They were the tougher team. They had the home crowd. It was I don't know. It was just a game that it felt like Xavier was in the driver's seat, whether the scoreboard dictated that or not. It just like the tone of the game felt like Xavier was in control, and you were optimistic if you're a UConn fan that you could like steal the win in the end. But in terms of like the vibe and who felt good about that game, I would say, Xavier obviously won by 10, but even when it was like tied with 5 minutes left or whatever, I felt like Xavier was still outplaying them. Is that a fair assumption to
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Xavier definitely dominated this game in a sense where you just felt like it was inevitable they were going to win. And that's why when Dan Hurley got the technical foul that he did, that was basically game. And a lot of Connecticut fans were like, that lost us the game. But the game was already in my hand. It was already in the hands of Xavier. I thought they were going to win anyway. And Dan Hurley did Dan Hurley things as expected in a critical moment. And I'll be honest with you, I watched the Villanova UConn game before. And Dan Hurley, at one point, they have the camera on him, and he's talking to the official, and he says 4 straight times, "You're an effing clown. You're an effing clown. You're an effing clown. You're an effing clown." And the official just stands there, does nothing, like just tries to ignore him, I guess, as best he can, runs back down on the other end of the court. And I said to myself, yes, UConn is the number 2 team in the country. They're undefeated. They're dominating everyone. But eventually, this act is going to wear thin, right? That is the Dan Hurley story, as is tradition, as it's always been. And as he was on the road in an environment that Sean Miller also is trying to work the officials, I just felt like he wore thin, and they started calling a lot of fouls on Connecticut. That physicality turned against them, and I think it came a lot from Dan Hurley, right? I mean, that's who Dan Hurley is. But in this environment, as we know how college basketball works, it's the perfect time to throw it in his face, and they did. The officials definitely did. I mean, you look at the discrepancy in free throws. I mean, it's all there for you, but that also comes from the way that Connecticut plays. So I don't know. This game to me felt like the perfect folly of why you get worried about this UConn team. It's not really the talent. It's not really the depth, because we know they have the best depth in the country. I think they could easily win a national championship. But there is that certain level or that certain layer with this team, with this group, that Dan Hurley is unhinged. He's always been unhinged. He is on another level. And if he finds one of those games where he loses it a little too much, it can cost you the game. And we saw it against Xavier.
I was watching the game at a bar with a buddy that doesn't necessarily follow college basketball super closely, but likes sports,
right.
And we're watching the game, and Hurley gets teed up, and he goes, "I missed it. What did he do?" And I was like, "I don't think he did it. I think he's Dan Hurley. I think and I was like trying to explain to him like this is one of the guys that like Hurley's one of them. There are a lot of coaches that are this way, but like the Hurley brothers are in a league of their own. I guess Musselman's up there with them, but Mick Cronin from time to time. But Cronin usually
Izzo can be this way, right? I mean, there's certain coaches that use technical fouls as like a way to get to send a signal, to send a sign. Yeah. There's other coaches that are mucking the officials the entire game, like Dan Hurley. And eventually,
yeah, exactly.
Eventually, it wears thin, and they're like technical foul.
Yeah, exactly. Like with Izzo and like Cronin, even it feels like they are a slow burn, and then they get to the point where they just explode, and they lose their minds. And but Hurley, it's like he's that way the entire game, and it just wears. And then so the technical is not about like that particular incident. So then when he gets teed up, he and UConn fans are like, "What did I do? All I said was your mother. Like you're gonna tee me up for that?" And it's like, Dan, you said this. This is the 12th time you said this to me. Right. You said this,
And I saw a lot of people saying that what he said was like "great call" or something like that. But it's like when he's sarcastically saying that after chastising these officials since they missed an and one on the first play in his mind, right? Like eventually you're like, dude, shut the hell up.
It's not any one thing. It's the accumulation of things. So yeah, here's I don't think UConn needs to. I'm going to use the word fix because whatever, but it's not that dramatic. They're not broken, but if they were, here's how UConn, unlike Purdue, UConn should have very serious national title aspirations. They should. This team should say it's not. Screw it. It is national title or bust. It doesn't mean, I guess you're not a failure if you don't, but like that should be your mindset inside the locker room. It's like we are trying to win a national championship. We are good enough to win the national championship, and they should think that they are the best team in the country. But they got to clean up some things. Number one, Tate, as you said, Dan Hurley's got to. I get that's who he is. I get that showing the emotion, like he gets the players going. I love all of that. I'm not trying to tell the tiger to change his stripes. I'm trying to tell the tiger to not bite the official's head off. That's all I'm trying to do.
Right.
I'm trying to tell you, be a tiger. Definitely be a tiger. But like, let's not.
Sometimes it's fun to just like sit back and like observe everyone.
Let's not run into the orphanage and maul all the kids. Like, let's not do that. Let's
sit back.
Let's just sit back and chill a little bit. I would say there was a sense to UConn early in the season that they were a chip on the shoulder team, like they were the team that was picked to finish fourth, I think, in the Big East. And they took that personally, Tate. And this is a team that they saw all the preseason clippings and what you said about them, and they're coming and all that kind of stuff. I think that somewhere along the line that edge has been lost, and there's like a sense of that's what I saw in the Xavier game. Is like
let's hold it together.
A UConn team that was a little softer. That the defensive edge was gone. The chip on the shoulder was gone. They were the team that was playing a little more finesse basketball. I want the toughness back. We need that back, and we need to not shoot 1,000 threes. And Andre Jackson you need like a 5-3 limit on him. I don't care if he goes 5 for 5. He's the one guy I'm making an exception for on my rule. If you're shooting 40%, if you're shooting better than 40%, keep shooting. He's the one guy I'm making an exception. If Andre Jackson is 5 for 5 from the 3-point line, stop it. You get 5 a game. That's it. You're done. I don't care what the circuit. I don't care if we're down 3 with 2 seconds left and you catch the ball and you're wide open. Pass it. You get 5 threes. That's it. Hard and fast rule.
I mean, shooting 30 plus threes is soft. I mean, that means you're not going to the basket. That means you're not being physical. And like you said, that's what this team was about, especially in the front court. And Fremantle and Nunji, I mean, they had a good game. They both played well.
Xavier's good. Xavier's a good team.
Right. And Xavier's ranked 18. And when we started this podcast, we said that there are some things that always hit, right? And one thing that always hit was Cincinnati being 17 or Xavier being 18 or vice versa. And the fact that Sean Miller got Xavier right where they want to be again, tip of the cap. Tip of the cap. They're back at 18. I love that.
Yeah, Sully Boom, the transfer from UTEP for Xavier has been kind of a come out of nowhere guy. Like he somehow has he's a guy that like when he transferred from a school like UTEP to Xavier, you assume his production's going to fall off a cliff. He wasn't even great in this game. I think he was like 3 for 10 against UConn, but just his presence and his calming presence at point guard has been awesome for them.
And Fremantle was a nice piece off the bench,
Yeah. Yeah, Jerome, dude, I loved him at Indiana when he was at IU. I thought he was going to be awesome at IU. He's a Columbus, Ohio kid. But yeah, Xavier's an experienced team. I think their entire rotation is basically seniors and juniors. The result is not exactly surprising. I mean, there's a reason like this game was hyped up, and people in the Big East had it circled as like a fun game to watch. And Xavier was Xavier picked to win the Big. They were second, right? They were second behind Creighton. Yeah, they were second behind Creighton. But yeah, so there's no shame in losing to Xavier, even losing by 10. I'm not hitting the panic button or anywhere close to it with UConn. I just think like if you're serious about winning a national title, the messaging in the locker room is we got our ass kicked today. We were soft. Whether it's true or not, this is what I would tell the guys, like if I was,
this is what Dan Hurley said for sure.
Yeah. We were soft today. We got our ass kicked. We're not winning. We're not beating anybody playing this way. We got to be more physical defensively. We got to actually work the ball inside and like not just be content passing around and jacking up threes. And I got to not lose my fucking mind on the bench.
Yeah, right.
And I'll tap. And you know what? I'm going to end this speech by tapping my chest and raising my hand, saying that one's on me. That one's on me.
Right. And I think that would be. I hope that's what happened, and I really do, because I think that's the best thing for everybody. And I even saw Connecticut fans saying that. They're like, come on, Coach Hurley, right? Even the ones that want him to be insane, they know that it was a bridge too far. And I think UConn will be better for it. As you and I have always said, it's better to learn these lessons now than later. And we said it last year with Auburn. Auburn fans got really mad at us, and then they go in the tournament. They had learned no lessons, and they fell flat on their face. So these are the times, if you're going to win a national championship, go to a Final Four, like learn this lesson, move forward, be better for it. And I'm not worried about UConn. In fact, if I had a vote, I would still put UConn number 1 in the country right now. If it was up to me.
Yeah. Interesting. All right. Because I guess that's the question now. Now Purdue's lost, UConn's lost. Houston, I still think Houston's. I still think it's Houston. I mean, Houston.
I'm fine for Houston to be number one just for the good of college basketball. I think it's a fine look. And I just looked at the AP poll from last week. Purdue got all first place votes other than one. UConn got the one vote to be the other. They were the other number one vote. So that was the one voter. And I like UConn. UConn has passed my eye test. I also thought that going to Xavier was a tough game in general. So that doesn't blow my mind that they lost that game. And I thought that they showed a lot of flaws in that game. Houston, they just got to keep coasting until March. You know what I mean? They just can't have any bad losses. So they could be number one and hold that position for quite a while if they get it back.
Yeah, Houston is. I mean, they're the betting favorite to win it. And I guess you could, if you want to be a hater, you could say it's because the Final Four is in Houston, and they think that if Houston can make the Final Four, they'll have home court advantage. But if you know how these things work, that doesn't actually make any sense because like Butler had home court advantage against Duke and didn't win. It's that yeah, I don't really track that, so I don't think that's it. I mean, it's because Houston's the best team in the country. I saw. I forget what sportsbook it was, but Houston was like 8-1 to win the national title, Tate, and Purdue was 16-1. Now, my gambling's a little hazy. I don't quite understand odds as well as you do. Correct me if I'm wrong. You're basically saying Houston has twice as good a chance, right? To win the national championship as Purdue.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, that was crazy. Like this was before Purdue lost to Rutgers. So the Houston, like Vegas was looking at it and was like, all right, Purdue's number one in the country. But this team that's not number one in the country has twice as good odds to win the national championship than the number one team in the country.
They have more of the formula. That's why Houston passes the test for most everybody. That has been a college basketball fan.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You see the coach, you understand the pedigree, you understand these players, and you say, well, that's a team that in March could win the title. And that's why it's easy, I think, to have them as a number one, and everyone it leaves a good taste in your mouth because you're like, for the good of the game, that team at number one makes a lot of sense, right? And we've seen them lose, obviously. Otherwise, they've been good.
Yeah, they have a 5-star kid too, in Walker. Like if that's your thing, if that's one of the boxes you need checked, is like, do they have
a 5-star free? Yes,
a 5-star freak. Yes, they do. They have that as well.
Boxes checked.
I think it's probably Houston. I think Kansas fans are listening to this saying, "What about us?" I don't know. Kansas is like funny to me. I'm still trying to figure out how. I mean, we talked about it after the IU game, after they blew the doors off of Indiana. The team kind of makes no sense. They're just like, it's 4 wings and DeJuan Harris basically is the starting lineup. Excuse me. They play like it defies like the Bill Self basketball that I know and love, but at the same time they won a national title sort of playing this. They had David McCormick last year, who so it wasn't quite as pronounced as it is this year, but last year, I got that feeling of it a little bit. I was like, a Kansas team that is just so heavily reliant on wing players and not point guards and centers. Like that doesn't make any sense to me. And then they won the national title. So I guess Self was like, let's double down. Let's go all in on the wings. I want more wings. Feed me wings. But I'm still trying to figure Kansas out. That's one way of saying, like, they're obviously good. Jalen Wilson's incredible. He's first team All-American. Grady Dick is awesome. McCulder's been great. You just want me to read off the roster and say I love all these guys. I could do that for you. But like trying to figure out how they all fit together and whether they're just out there just like playing ball, or whether they're because it does, like, obviously Bill Self's a great coach and this is not like me ripping on him, but it does sort of feel like Kansas is a roll the balls out team right now where they just like get up and down and play basketball and like they don't really know what their roles are on the team. They're just kind of like getting out there and playing, and they're winning because they're talented, but you're also like, what is this? I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out what the hell this Kansas team is other than just a really talented team with great wing play.
Weirdly, they remind me like of Duke teams in the late mid-aughts, like with Kyle Singler being that 4 where, the same way that Jalen Wilson is that 4 for Kansas. They remind me of a Duke team in that sense. And I'll be honest with you, KJ Adams is doing something that I think is really smart for his career. He's playing the 5 as a 6'8" guy, but he's learning how to switch all these positions. And if I were him and I was his PR team, I would be pushing it out that he is the Draymond Green of college basketball. He is small ball 5. Everyone loves him because I think when KJ goes to the league, they're going to want him to be a small forward. And now he can say, no. actually play the 5. I'm your small ball 5. I can be the specialist for your team. And I think that's fascinating. I think Jalen Wilson is going to have an argument to be National Player of the Year. You and I talked about that. He's locked in himself as number 2, probably behind Edey in the real race. Not on my watch list, but in the real race. I think that's.
I think Timmy. I think people would say Timmy, but
you think Timmy's locked in it too?
So I think people would say. But I'm not arguing. I'm just trying to. I'm just saying. The only reason I mentioned Timmy is because people listening are probably like, "What the So there, I mentioned Timmy. There you go.
Timmy's mentioned. Timmy, we mentioned him. He's mentioned. We speak your name, Drew Timmy. I like Jalen Wilson. I like KJ Adams at the 5 as a small ball 5. I think they're a fascinating team. I do worry about this Kansas group a little bit when it comes to the tournament, but the fact that they were down 15 in a title game, 16 at one point in a title game, and then come back and win a national championship. I was there. I saw it. That's scary. They're down 15 in this game. The Bill Self special was right in our face. You and I are, we're celebrating it because we were like, there's no way this team can do this, but they can. And so the scariest part about Kansas to me is that you could be beating Kansas pretty handily, and this group is too young and too talented to believe that it's over. And Bill Self is the perfect coach for like, oh, shucks, fellas, let's go load the wagon and see what happens. And guess what happens? They win games. And that is what is the scariest part about Kansas is that you can have them pretty much dead to rights, and they're so talented that they don't feel that way, and they can come back in any game. Because Oklahoma State should have won this game. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And Kansas wins the race at 69, and it's over.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a questionable call at the end, we should say, too.
Right. But hey, that's blue bloods. That's what blue bloods do.
Blue blood treatment. That's
at home.
Field house, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. If that's in Stillwater,
the special
even Bill Self's like, come on. Yeah. Bill Self's complained about the no call. Yeah. Bill Self's like, you're gonna screw my alma mater. Come on, they need this win. You're gonna disrespect me. I come back home and you do this to me.
Right.
Shout out to Juan Harris, by the way, a guy who and I just listed like everybody on the roster, it felt like, for Kansas. And DeJuan Harris is he's getting the Kihei Clark. He's in the Kihei Clark mold of guys who were starting point guards on national championship teams and get dismissed as like not that good, even though everyone within the program and every fan and every coach and everybody's like, this guy's insane and he's the reason our team works. And we love his game and he's incredible. And then every outsider's like, he averaged 5 points a game last year. If he's that good, why did he average 5 points a game? And then Bill Self, who's one of the great, he's literally in the Hall of Fame and one of the greatest coaches ever, is like, I think he's the best point guard in the country. And then bozos like us are like, he can't be because how come? How come this other point guard's averaging 17 a game and DeJuan Harris isn't? And anyway, he's a perfect point guard for this group. He's awesome.
And he had 9 assists, and he doesn't take shots away from those guys. All those wings want shots. Grady Dick wants to shoot. Jalen Wilson wants to shoot. He's not taking shots away, and he kind of knows his role really well. And in general, this Kansas group, the guys that come in off the bench, Bobby Pettiford, and all these guys that come in, they all seem to understand their roles really well, despite being young. So Kansas is an encouraging team. I just think if I was Bill Self, I would not want to be number 1.
No, well, but also I don't think Kansas is. You were saying no matter how big of a lead you get, it feels like Kansas thinks they can come back, and they probably can. But I also think expanding that to like the full season, Kansas could lose 2 or 3 in a row, and I don't think they're doing like they're a team that I will never be out on. I guess there are some circumstances maybe, but they lose by 14 to Tennessee. Wisconsin probably should have beat them. Oklahoma State should have beat them. Like they've looked shaky a lot throughout the year. But I'm not worried. They're not a team like that will lose a game and then you get a point and say, "Ha, I knew it. You guys suck. Get out of here. We don't have to take you seriously anymore." They're going to be. You have to take them seriously the rest of the season. You right. Just with the talent they have and how, how many different guys could beat you and Jalen Wilson, the level he's playing at, and I mean, like they're not going to go away. They're going to be in the mix the entire season. So this isn't a deal like say maybe a Kentucky where Kentucky loses a few games. We're like, goddamn, these guys suck. Like I don't want to talk about them anymore. Kansas could drop a couple in the Big 12, maybe even in a row, and I'm not gonna really panic about this team until March comes around and they're still playing like garbage, then I might start to worry. But like I no matter what happens with this Kansas group, especially with the way they won the national title last year, and I understand it's a lot of roster turnover, but there's just a vibe around them that they're going to figure it out. And whether they do or not, I'm going to work under that assumption until proven otherwise.
Yeah, and tonight they play at Texas Tech, a team that they struggled against last year, against that defense, that no-middle defense. And, the second time they played them, they figured it out. They started throwing skip passes and things like that. So we'll see what happens. This young group could go to Texas Tech, struggle against that defense, lose a game on the road, and we're all like, oh, Kansas, should we worry about Kansas, right? And they're the next up on the docket of top teams to worry about. But like you're saying, even if that were to happen and however many hours away we are from that, I'm still not worried about Kansas because of the talent level. And I think that they're Grady Dick is so young that he believes that he can take this team to a national championship and win it. You know what I mean? He has that level of confidence, and you got to like that about this group.
All right, let's do this exercise because we've said that being number one or being top five, or wherever you want to draw the line, is cursed. So, and it doesn't feel like Purdue should be a number one team. Again, that's not a disrespect to this group. It's just like let's be realistic about it, and they don't scream best team in the country to you. They scream very good team that could have a fun season, but that's about it. So let me go through and mention some names, Tate, and let's just do like a gut check, a vibe check. Like, does it feel right to want to argue that this might be the best team in the country? All right. Mm-hmm. All right. That you see what I'm doing? It's just like, does it feel right when I say it? When I say that Houston, let's just start with Houston. Houston's the best team in the country. I think we both agree that feels right.
Feels right. Yeah. No argument from me. I think that they have maybe the best coach in the country, and I still don't think that they're playing their best basketball, which is kind of encouraging because they're going to get there by March. So Houston has not peaked yet either, which I feel good about.
I'll just go down the KenPom list. How about that? We'll do it that way. Connecticut second, UConn. That feels right. Yeah, that feels right. Yeah. That feels good to me.
Yeah.
Tennessee's third. If I said Tennessee's the best team, I could say throw out the rankings, throw out everything else. To me, the Tennessee Volunteers are the best team in the country.
Feels right, just because they have the guard play and the defense, which when you talk about March, I think that they have the formula. So in my head, I hear Tennessee's the best team in the country, and you're going to get no argument from me. And maybe that's crazy. Maybe some people would say they don't have enough offensive firepower, but in my mind, they have the pieces to win a title.
Yeah, maybe that's a good way of framing it. It's like if someone said that this team's the best team in the country, do you care enough to want to argue back? Mm-hmm. And in Tennessee, I wouldn't. I'd be like, yeah, you might be right. Yeah, that checks out. That makes a lot of sense to me. Now, Tennessee, the transitive committee, which I believe is just made up of you and I, should point out that Tennessee Condoleezza Rice. She's the head of the transitive committee. Tennessee lost to Colorado early in the season, Tate, and Colorado just lost to Cal. Our thoughts on that? What? Abort mission. Never mind. Tennessee.
Frauds.
Number 4 on KenPom, Tate, UCLA. Huh.
See, you know me. You know me. I'm a big Jaime Jaquez, Jalen Clark guy. I think that they're two of the best wings in the country. I really think Tiger Campbell is what you want in March. So for me, I would have no argument. I would say I could see it. The only problem that I have with UCLA being number 4 right there is that I think that there's another Pac-12 team I would put in front of them. So it'd be hard because as I'm arguing for UCLA, all I'm thinking about is the front court of Arizona.
Isn't that
would be tough?
Hold on, isn't that that's the old ACC move though? Is you pick one team to be the best in the conference and the other team to be the best in the country?
Right. So Duke's the best in the conference. Carolina's best in the country.
Yeah. So maybe we just have that going on. Arizona's the best team in the Pac-12, but UCLA is the best team in the country. What about that?
There you go.
Is that a reality you can wrap?
I can live in that world, even though I think it might be. I think it might be reversed.
It might be the other way around.
It might be the best team in the Pac-12, and Arizona's the best team in the country.
UCLA and UConn are the only 2 teams, according to KenPom's algorithm, which I am no closer to understanding.
Please release the formula.
Everyone listening is like it's literally released. You can click on the thing and read the formula, and I'm like, yeah, I actually don't know if it is, but even if I could read it, my brain would freeze after like 3 seconds. UCLA and UConn are only 2 top 10 in both offense and defense efficiency. So the only 2 teams that are elite at both. both ends of the court there. All right, number 5, Kansas. We just talked about them, but if Kansas is the best team in the country, does that feel right?
It feels right. I let it slide. I mean, there's some holes there, but I feel like at the end of the day, Kansas is talented enough for me to be okay with it. So yeah, I'm okay with that. The top 5 that we named so far, I'm like,
that feels I think all 5 feel okay. 6, Texas. I don't think. I think I draw the line
feels
there
wrong.
And say it feels
and
wrong.
Let me just say, I'm not going to get into the details, but it just feels wrong. I don't know what happened, but it feels wrong. Number 6.
The situation in Austin to me is wrong.
It's wrong.
For me. Just for me. Yeah. I don't want to come across as like a pearl clutcher, like a virtue signaler or whatever else, but it's just not good. It's just not good.
Texas is the best team in the country. Fraud. No way. No way.
Number 7 is Arizona. I think we both agree that Arizona might be the best. If we're talking like national title hopes again, I don't know if I can trust Kirk Reese to win 6 games in a row to not just shit down his leg. It's not even shitting down his leg though. If you shit down your leg, like to me, a guy shitting down his leg is like the moment is too big for him. The moment's not too big for Kirk Reese. It's that he's too big for the moment almost. Yes. Where like he wants to be like it's not like he turtles in big moments. It's the exact opposite. He sticks his chest out and he's like, watch this. He peacocks
way too much. And it's like, dude, put your feathers down. Nobody needs to see that right now. And in fact, I think if we could have a private conversation with Kirk Risa and Dan Hurley before the NCAA tournament to say stop peacocking,
it
would be the best thing to happen to both.
Put your cocks away, both of you.
Yeah.
But Arizona, if you wanted to argue Arizona is the best team in the country, that is an argument that I'm not interested in having against you. You know, right. So I think that plays. Number 8, Purdue.
I'm going to say for me, they are not the best team in the country.
I would agree with that. I would stop if someone said Purdue's the best team in the country. I'd say hold it right there. Let's talk about this.
They have the best player in the country.
Let's hash this out. They have the best player.
They're not the best team in the country.
Yeah, I don't think they're the best team. They're one of them ones. They're among the best team.
Even though they have him, they are not them.
Yeah, yeah. And then I guess like after that, I would imagine the rest of these are no, right? Alabama, Arkansas,
no.
Virginia,
no.
Ohio State at 12, Tate.
Congratulations.
Would you look at that?
No.
Would you look at that?
I mean, they did lose to Carolina, so that's great for the resume. Please push them up. I didn't know Ohio State to beat Purdue, by the way. That's like I'm all eyes on January 5th.
I don't want to get ahead of myself. But the haters would love the haters would love to hear this, that I am forecasting a situation where I'm very, 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 very high on Ohio State in March.
Love it.
I'm not there yet. A lot of pieces to put together. Obviously, Carolina game stings. Young team. Still trying to figure out rotations. Still trying to figure out defense a lot of the time.
Missing a starter still, Ice Likely, right? He's still like coming back.
He's back. Yeah, he's back, but I don't know if he's still going to start anymore or if we're gonna that's what I mean. We're trying to figure out because Bryce Sensabaugh wasn't starting for most of the season because all he wanted to do was get buckets. But then at a certain point, Holt was like, "All right, this guy's insane."
Yeah, I got to start this guy. Yeah.
I also think, listen, I'm gonna just call him out. This is not I'm not reporting private conversations and making them public, but this is just my read on it. I'm gonna call out Holt and say that he started Sensabaugh on the bench because he was trying to hide him from NBA scouts, and he was hoping that NBA scouts flipping through the channels would watch the first 4 minutes of Ohio State games and be like, yeah, there's no pro prospects here. Change the channel, and then he brings Sensabaugh off the bench. But I think the cat is out of the bag, Tate, and I think
right.
I think the blame falls squarely on KOC and Gavoni and these draft guys who I swear have a personal vendetta against me. I don't know why they keep doing this with Ohio State guards when I'm begging them to stop. Just stop. What's that video that KOC
with Russell Westbrook?
Just stop. That's a good meme. I might bust that out. Next time KOC tweets about Bryce Sensabaugh, I'm gonna tweet that back at him. But yeah, he's been so good that they got to start him. So I don't know who they're bumping because Sean McNeil. Do you bump Sean McNeil's offense to the bench? Do you bump Ice Likely's defense? I don't know, but Ohio State, we Eugene Brown's back. We're fully healthy, and I understand. to a lot of the country, we're not exactly a team that you're worried about. But I just want to say, dude, the vibes are good around Columbus. We'll know more after Thursday, but it's trending in the right direction. I think these young guys are going to grow up and throughout the Big Ten play. And like I after we beat the shit out of Northwestern, I'm watching Andy Katz and Mike DeCourcy and Rafael Davis. And Katz is just like, again, Andy Katz, please stop. I got to get him on the show and tell him to stop. He's pushing the idea that Ohio State might be the favorite to win the Big Ten now. And like, we're right up there with Purdue and all that. I'm like, what the hell's going on? What happened?
He's not wrong. He's not wrong. I mean, when I look at the Big Ten, I'm like, you said that there was this big gap between Purdue and everybody else, so that's what the expectation was. It obviously is not. And then the next tier is like Wisconsin, Ohio State. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Illinois, as we both know, very close to my heart, but I don't know. Someone stabbed them in the heart. I don't know what happened to them in MSG, but things went awry. I think what happened to Ohio State and MSG was actually great, minus the fact that Sensabaugh played so well in front of all the scouts who would go to such a game. So he's a first-round pick. So if you're Holtman at this point, you're like, this might be my 1 year with Sensabaugh. Let's lean into it. Let's let him try to win Big Ten Player of the Year. Or at least Big Ten Freshman of the Year. And then let's go for a run. So
yeah, I
like the Buckeyes. I'm not saying they're the best team in the country, but I like the Buckeyes.
We got to play defense. We got the number 2 offense on KenPom, number 2 ranked offense.
I like it.
Offensive efficiency with Malachi Branham leaving early. And that's, like I said, like that's the part that'll keep me up at night is thinking, what if Malachi Branham was on this team? How good would it be? What if Ice Likely? Because like I said, either McNeil or Ice Likely wouldn't have transferred. We wouldn't have gotten them in the portal if Branham was back. But yeah, add Branham, and then I don't know. Take your pick. Lose one of those 2 guys.
I need more dude. Felix Okpara too. Like, a lot of people they don't want to see him out there, but he's wearing number 34 for a reason. The guy.
I'm not. Thank you, Tate. I like that. 34 for a reason. I'm not ready to peacock. I'm not sitting here saying like we're
ready to peacock. Maybe I sit you, Kirk Reese, and Dan Hurley down before.
Yeah, I'm like
we can't peacock too much.
I don't want people to take this the wrong way. I'm not peacocking about Ohio State. I'm just saying you'd be happy to know that it's trending a direction where I will have expectations in March. So that way, when I get my dick kicked in by, some mid-major that I had there, or some team that I've talked all sorts of shit about all season, and they beat us by 20 in the tournament. I'm here to report that there will be maximum amounts of pain felt on my end. So the friends of the program love to hear that, Tate. That's when they're at their happiest, when we're at our saddest. So there you go. You'll be happy to know that come March, I have gone from at the start of the season, I just wanted to make the tournament. That by March, I don't think I'm going to be feeling that way. I think I'm going to be talking myself into
Houston.
Yeah, we're going to Houston, and that's really all you want. And I think I guess that's what I'd say to Purdue is like, stop having like a national title mentality, and just all you really want, unless you are like I think Houston this year, I think like UConn maybe has played their way into that position. Maybe there are a handful of others, but I don't think there are a lot of teams that are like, we must win the national title. All you really want, Tate, is on Monday morning, Selection Sunday happens, the bracket comes out, you have all that emotions, you go sleep on it, you wake up Monday morning, you're staring at a blank bracket. You want to look at your team, and you want to look at the bracket, and you want to say, we have a path. You want to talk yourself into a situation where you might be able, maybe under the right circumstances, have a path. And that's all you really want. And Purdue will certainly have that. And that's all you can ask for, That's all you can ask for.
And if you're Purdue and you go to the Final Four, that is a major, 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 major win, because the Indiana people, like Coach Titus, who we love and adore, they can't make that joke anymore, right? I mean, and they can't laugh at you and your misery. I mean, at least you made a Final Four.
Boy,
everyone can handle a Final Four, but come on.
I think my dad set a record for most crying, laughing emojis. Texted to me yesterday as Purdue football lost 63-7.
Wow.
To LSU it was. Yeah, 63-7 in their bowl game. And then the basketball team obviously loses to Rutgers, ranked number 1. But what's funny is my dad has become like a huge. This is the funniest part about my. I don't mean to derail the show. We can. I just wanted to quickly say this because it cracks me up. The funniest part about my dad's hatred for Purdue is that it's so. He's surrounded himself with people he loves that love Purdue or are Purdue. Like my mom's obviously the Hall of Fame, but I learned recently, Tate, that Aiden O'Connell's mother-in-law, I think he's married, or future mother-in-law, the starting quarterback at Purdue, is a close personal friend of my family's. And my dad's like, she's the sweetest lady ever. I talk to her about Purdue football all the time, like yada yada yada. And I'm just like, this is too, this man, like the one thing he hates the most, and he just attracts nothing but like. So apparently, this
definition of keep my enemies close. Like, yeah, no idea because he's such a sweet, gregarious guy that he is. Meanwhile, crying, laughing emoji at their misery.
So Aiden O'Connell doesn't play in the bowl game, and my dad was like, "This is awesome. Like, I can actually be happy now because like it's been weird for me all season to cheer against Purdue football because like I love his fan, you know." Right. And all that. Now they lose 63-7. So unleash the crying, laughing emojis. I was like, Dad, what time does IU's bowl game? And he's like, shut up, son. Shut up. Doesn't matter. Anyway, what else is there to talk about? What else do you want to hit?
Can I quickly just hit on something that is happening on Tobacco Road that I think we should point out as pure journalists here? I think Duke made a big mistake. I think Duke hired the wrong guy. I don't know if you've ever seen the Dewey Cox story where his father is like the wrong son died. I think that is going to be Coach K. That's going to be Mr. K very soon because North Carolina, in case you missed it, they went up to Purdue. They play the Capel brothers, who are literally, you know, just it was like playing.
Oh, they went up to Pitt.
Yeah, to play the Capel brothers. Yeah. They lose this game. They were up the entire game, but then as things play out, just, you know, North Carolina collapses basically. Pitt wins. Capel wins another one against Hubert Davis. You get all of the Duke people are chirping and things like that. But the way that Jeff Capel and Jason Capel worked the officials in this game is something that was straight out of the Coach K playbook. You know what I mean? Like, I've never seen anything like it. I wish I could have seen some BTS of like the cash envelope that they gave the officials before the game, all of these things. And then I watched Duke play against Wake Forest on the road, and I see John Shire not even standing up and coaching, just sitting on the bench, just being, a fly on the wall is probably the nicest way to describe it. And then meanwhile, you see Jeff Capel, trying to threaten the officials, slapping the table, the media table as hard as he can, throwing pins at people in the crowd. And you say to yourself, I mean, this is if this was at Duke, which is AKA Nike University, if Jeff Capel was running Nike University, I would be actually terrified because you get the intimidation factor of a coach on the sideline with that talent. And oh my God, I mean, that is scary. I would actually be very, very concerned about the future. And he seems to have Hubert Davis's number. Jeff Capel's calling out our defensive schemes that he learned when he played at North Carolina. He's a freaking spy, always has been. Made Joe Forte leave early because he's a bad teammate. We all know this. So to watch.
Whoa! So this is friendly fire now. You're going after.
There is no friendly fire. There is no friend. There has only been a foe that we let him in.
Is he a fake Tar Heel?
The fake heel. We all know this. Everyone knows. Everyone
heel
knows.
Turn. It's a heel turn.
Go look up articles back in the day about Jeff Capel or Jason Capel and the way that he treated Joseph Forte. Basically,
wow.
You know what I mean? Joseph Forte wanted to come back.
Okay. Not to derail your rant, but like I need the power rankings of Carolina, the ostracized, the guys that have been cut out of the Carolina community. Is McCants one? Maktar Jai. Every time I mention Maktar Jai, you shudder a little bit. So he's got to be up there, right?
The reason that Maktar is in there, first of all, Maktar's still part of the family, but Maktar had two moments in time that you'll never be forgiven for. One, he told MJ to his face that Akeem Olajuwon was the GOAT. Okay. North Carolina, you're done. You're dead to us. We hate you forever. Also, you didn't win anything, so there's a certain level of like, what a waste of time for you to come here and then lose for us. And then the other time, there was a story that like he was trying to get in a party that like during the NBA Finals at one point, and MJ was up on the balcony, and Maktar was like, "Let us in," and Jordan like basically ignored him and was like, "I'm not letting you in." So he tried to use his Carolina privilege too far. That's the reason why Maktar is in the conversation. But yeah, McCants, I still love McCants, even though all of the things he said, it was all for attention. We all understood that. He also dated a Kardashian and went crazy. People forget this.
That's true. Yeah, blame it.
He was one of the early Kardashian curses that people don't talk about enough. So I give McCants a pass, even though he's still on that list. But Jason Capel might be number one. I mean, just the way he behaves. He called our team soft last year. I mean, he goes in the media after the game, says, like, I know all their defensive schemes. It's like, yeah, dude, you played at Carolina. Shut up. Like, that's not a brother. That's not a family member. You're a spy. Your brother is a bag man. We all know that. But I'm telling you, if I was Duke, if I was a real Iron Duke, actually, never mind. The Iron Dukes don't want to be a part of the bag. Let's talk about, if you're just like a casual Walmart Duke fan, Jeff Capel was the man with his brother Jason Capel on the sideline to get in the head of Carolina fans. That was the move. And I watched that game, and I said to myself, if this combination had come to fruition, if Coach K let the bag really happen, I would be very worried, Titus. But luckily he's at Pitt, and Pitt's a quad 1 team, so it's not even a bad loss. People forget this. Pitt is quad 1, and they're 3-0 in the ACC. So
I wasn't going to bring up
back to Pitt.
I wasn't going to bring it up that you guys lost to Pitt because I thought I was gonna. That was my Christmas gift to you. I was just gonna let it fly under the radar. All the shit that's happened between last show and now. That I just thought maybe we could.
It's the holidays. A lot of weird stuff happened, but a noon game, Mark Titus, a noon game at Pitt with Coach K, Mr. K's son-in-law on the call, Chris Spatola. I mean, get out of here! Like who is scheduling this? Who's letting this happen? Like this is the biggest.
Was Roy at the game? By the way, I didn't watch it. Was Roy at the game?
Roy was at a Patriot League game for God knows what reason, but he was watching another basketball game. He was not at the game.
That's smart, Roy. I hate to report this to you, but I think you should know this, that there are rumblings. I don't know if the friends of the program are saying this to you, but they are. We're talking behind your back, Tate. That there's some rumblings that people are starting to put together the narrative that Roy is the new Sister Jean.
No.
That's what people are saying.
I lost my voice. That's gross. That's gross. Roy is a basketball fan. He misses the game. The game passed him by. He just wants to keep watching it. We respect him. We love him. That's all it is. But I will say this. During the broadcast, Mr. K's son-in-law at one point is talking about, and this happened, Titus. I don't know if you saw this. During the broadcast, he's talking about Puff Johnson, right? Puff Johnson on the team, son or brother of Cam Johnson. His nickname is Puff because he liked Cocoa Puffs. His real name is Donovan Johnson. So they tell a story. They're like, his mom wants him to be called Donovan, but everyone calls him Puff because he liked Cocoa Puffs, yada, yada, yada. Spatola, Mr. K's son-in-law, says, Cocoa Puffs suck. That's what he says. He's like Cocoa Puffs suck. So you're talking about a kid whose nickname is like Cocoa Puffs. He's like, Cocoa Puffs are trash. Like, everyone knows that. And I'm like, what is this guy even talking about? And he goes, everyone likes Fruity Pebbles. And then luckily, whoever he's calling the game with was like, so should we call you Fruity? And he's like, I've been called that before. And I'm like, so from now on, if you have Fruity Spatola on the call.
I did not see that. I did not see that. That's amazing.
It's Fruity Spatola away from Carolina games. And the funniest part, I'll end my rant. The funniest part about all this is that North Carolina's next game is at home against Wake Forest. And I say to myself, well, hopefully Fruity Spatola isn't calling the game. Luckily, he's not, Mark Titus. But guess who is? And this is not even a joke. They were like, you know what? ESPN's like, you know what? Coach K's son-in-law, maybe a bridge too far for Carolina fans. They don't want to hear him. We'll help you guys out. On the next call, we're going to have Corey Alexander, which, I mean, come on, and Randolph Childress. So Randolph Childress, the man who famously said, get up off the ground after crossing up a North Carolina player, is now going to call the Wake Forest-North Carolina game. I'm sure in a very unbiased, objective fashion. I'm sure that'll be fun to listen to for all the fans at home. Who is scheduling this? Who hates Carolina at ESPN? Because get this man out of my face. That's all I know. I don't know who's making these decisions, but literally get this man so far out of my face. End of rant. Fruity Spatola.
Conspiracy Corner with Tate is my favorite segment we do.
Oh my
on
god!
The show. It's never planned. It just kind of happens, and then Tate goes crazy.
I've just been waiting to get that off my chest because I'm watching this game and I'm like, is anyone else seeing this? Am I the crazy one? Am I the bad guy here? Maybe I am, but goodness gracious, Mark Titus, having to listen to someone talk from the Pitt vantage point the entire game, it'll drive a man insane, especially if he's related to Mr. K. In rant.
The one was the offensive foul that was the worst on Leaky Black, I think.
Right.
It was the worst charge call I've ever seen in my life.
Right.
That was so.
Well, that goes back to the bad guy part of this, where it's like, I understand what the Capels are doing. They're old school. They're like, they meet the officials in the parking lot with an envelope of cash. I know how this works. I get it. It's home court. We get it. We see it. We respect it. I understand it. But at the same time, my God, how in my face does it have to be for me not to lose my mind? I'm done.
Were the officials bad both ways? Is my question.
No, they were not. They were bad. They were very bad both ways. You can put me on the record for that. They were bad one way.
Oh my god.
I'm like sick as I'm yelling about this too. It's great.
It's silver lining though. Explain to the people what's going on with North Carolina basketball recruiting, because I see our friend Joe Tipton, just pumping out Carolina content lately. Is this next year? Is this 2 years away? Like, what's going on? Carolina keeps landing recruits.
Carolina has the #1 class so far in 2024. We are.
So that's
not this year, but next year.
Not this year, but next year. Okay. All right.
So we're building a roster for the future.
Who has Kentucky has a class next year, right? Kentucky's the one that has yeah. So
that's good.
Yeah, and
that's
that's
good.
Cal's
North Carolina
last
doesn't win many recruiting wars these days, so it's nice. This new kid that just committed, he's a 4-star, plays the 5. His name is James Brown. Great name. We love that. Elliot Cadeau is the top point guard in the class, 5-star. He just committed to North Carolina. He's Swedish, plays for the Swedish national team.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So we got some good characters. And
that's why you texted me.
A legit point guard. Like he looks like
you texted me
vibes of Raymond Felton and some of those guards I got back in the day.
Swedish chef is what you said, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna call him. Or the Swedish fish. You know what I mean? We'll see what happens. We'll see how slippery he is when
he
gets
to do the Sam Cassell celebration when he hits big shots and Swedish meatballs.
Right. That would be great. There's lots of options. I'm excited for the future, but also in the present time, please get Coach K's son-in-law out of my face. That's all.
Any shout outs otherwise?
Man,
wrap this up.
I want to shout out us for the Schadenfreude that we had as football fans, because you and I are both football fans. Both of our teams. There's one rule that I have in football, which is never have a 6-point lead. I would rather like if you have a 6-point lead, you might as well just be done. I mean, you're going to lose.
Yeah,
it's the worst lead in all of sports. Both of our teams in this game late had 6-point leads. Carolina against Oregon, yourself against Georgia in the playoff, and I just want to say you're welcome to the fans that love seeing our misery, because those are the most miserable finishes in bowl season I've seen, and it happened on our watch, on our hands. So shout out to us.
I am strangely taking it well. I wasn't New Year's Eve. I was distraught. A lot of replaying the game and looking at certain moments, and it's the timeout.
The tape.
I'm crunching all 22, and I'm like, that was a great timeout by Kirby, obviously. I do think Marvin Harris, the way targeting is called, like, I guess, like, I see why they picked up the flag. Obviously, as a biased Buckeye fan, I was like, I wish you would have called a targeting on that. You just wish you got something, I guess, is where what sucks is, like, if your best player, who Marvin Harrison is the best player. I understand CJ Stroud is the Heisman finalist and all, but I checked the tape.
I've watched enough Ohio State to know that Marvin Harrison Jr.
I was saying that all season. I was like, if there's one guy that should win the Heisman for Ohio State, it's Marvin Harrison, not CJ Stroud. He's the best player on the team by far. How he didn't win the Biletnikoff Award is hilarious to me, but whatever. So when I guess, like, the mindset is less like, I think that play is targeting. It's more like, that's bullshit that we lose our receiver and we don't even get anything out of this. Like, at least give us a silver lining of, like, an automatic first down or something. Or we don't even give us the yards. Like, what if you call targeting? The guy gets to stay in the game. We don't even get any yards. Just give us a new first down or something. Like, we got to get something out of this. So that night I went back and, like, replayed everything and was like, shit, we were one moment away, like 12 different moments. But then, honestly, like, I felt a little bit probably how you felt in the national title game when Carolina choked away the game against Kansas, and everyone's just clowning you for choking it away. And you're like, I don't know, man. I'm kind of proud of the guys. We were running on fumes. Like, it is what it is. That's kind of my mind. Like, of course, it sucks to be that close and have it slip through your fingers, but at the same time, by the end of the game, we were down our top 2 wide receivers, because Smith and Jigba didn't play and has barely played all season. But him and Marvin Harrison are out. Our top 3 running backs, Tate, were out by the end of the game. Our starting tight end was out, and we're still, like, up whatever it was on the number 1 team.
You had a kick to win the game, and if
we had a kick to win the game,
if your coach tried to get him closer other than 50 yards, I mean, there's a chance that we're not even talking about this. We're talking about national championships. So.
And you go into the game saying we're going to lose by 4 touchdowns and Georgia's going to smoke us and we don't belong in the playoffs anyway. And that's all the conversation. And all those people that are saying that Ohio State sucks and is soft against Michigan and yada. And they, at the time, maybe they weren't wrong, but then suddenly those same people are now laughing at a missed kick and you didn't beat Georgia and you guys are, so I don't want to say the goalpost removed, but maybe that's why Noah Ruggles missed the kick, Maybe he was trying to hit the moving goalpost from the Ohio State haters. Have you thought about that?
Noah Ruggles has brought both of us pain as a kicker. I mean, when he was at North Carolina, he missed 2 game-winning field goals against Virginia Tech. That's why he transferred and left and went to Ohio State. And then he did that, and I'm like, I love the kid. He's very talented. I hate that he had those moments. You know what I mean?
I like Ruggles, by the way. I don't think Ruggles.
He's good. I mean,
Ruggles been awesome, dude. And I don't think it was a Ruggles problem. This to me was like, I don't know, pick a shooter.
Ball boy, did you see that? The Ohio State ball boy said that they used the wrong ball. Like he was running out to.
Well, it was weird because it felt like Ruggles was consoling the holder more than the holder was consoling him for missing the kick. You know, like when he missed it, it was like it was kind of a weird reaction to
the Ohio State ball boy. They never talked about it, and I I haven't seen any follow up. But like when the shot happened, when he missed the kick, they cut to the sideline right then, and the ball boy is running out with another ball, like yelling at the official as if to say like it was the wrong ball. Which, I mean, obviously I would too.
So we should replay the kick then, right?
That's what I was thinking.
What the hell? No, Ruggles in an Ohio State jersey's been money his entire career, basically. Right. And it's like asking a good shooter to hit a half court shot for the win, and then he misses, and you're like, why did you miss that? And it's like, I don't know, man, because it was fucking half. You're like, come on, Gordon. Yeah, come on, Gordon. I thought, for supposed lottery pick.
Lottery pick make that shot. Carmelo makes that shot.
Yeah. that was my thoughts about Noah. I was like, I mean, like he did, choke tech. Like it looked terrible, like off the foot. It was missed immediately, but also like, I mean, it's a 50-yarder for the winning. It's not like who's hitting that kick in that moment? Right. Who? Show me the guy that's hitting that. Probably. Yeah, Justin Tucker, I guess. I don't know. So I'm not mad at him, and I weirdly like I'm handling it well, Tate. I'm handling it well. So I'm fine. I'm not upset.
Proud of you.
I'm not mad. Buckeyes got some. I honestly, what it was is like most of this season with Ohio State football, it was not a fun experience watching them, even when we would beat the hell out of everybody. And this is like like people listening are like rolling their eyes. I understand, like, what tough problem to have that you guys beat the hell out of everybody and you're complaining about it. But there's like no fire, there's no pride. It felt like from the players, they're just like a finesse team that just goes through the motions and plays. Like surgical football, and it can be fun to watch Stroud spray it around or whatever, but you're like, do any of these guys like really actually care about being here? Is there any sort of like, like, is this just like a try? I made the analogy to Kentucky basketball not too long ago, and the more I thought about it, the more perfect it was. Is like, why there's just like some soulless feeling to watching this team and this program right now where you're like, I guess we're winning, but like at the same time, we never really win the game that I want us to win.
Right. It's got a mercenary feel to it. Yeah.
Yeah, and not only do we lose the big games, but we lose them in a way where there's like no pride. That we don't go down swinging really, and it's like there's just like this weird energy around the program right now. So I guess even though we lost to Georgia for the first time in a while, I felt pride as an alum where I was like, at least these guys are fighting. At least there's some heart being displayed out there. So in a weird way, I took a mature response. Credit to me. I'm gonna pat myself on the back.
Yeah, good job.
I'm growing up. Good job by me. That I was like, you know what? We'll be back next year. And we'll see what happens then. I don't know, but we're definitely a women's basketball school. I will say that we beat a lot of people are talking about Ohio State football losing to Georgia, and a lot of these people are supposedly, people that talk about equality and talk about how we should be highlighting women's sports more and how. All that sort of thing. And I saw a lot of those people were clowning on Ohio State losing to Georgia in the football game. Not a peep from them about how the number 3 ranked Buckeyes beat Michigan and are still undefeated and are rolling. Nice. And, look like a real national title threat in women's basketball. Nobody's talking about that. So I just find it interesting. It's interesting. A lot of people say a lot of things about how much they care about non-revenue sports. But then, when the opportunities arise to prove it, they shut the hell up. So I just find that fascinating.
Right. Huh. Yeah. Carolina's a women's field hockey school, so shout out to Aaron Matson. There you go. I got one more shout out. Shout out to the Chargers, 4 in a row, making the playoffs. I'm like getting choked up just thinking about it. The journey.
Did you go to the game? Did you go to the Rams Chargers game?
I went there in spirit. I was there in spirit. I you know, I was supposed to go, but I've been dealing with the sickness, you know, and then I got on my head about going. I watched it on TV. It was
Oh
great.
my
The
God.
battle for LA. Boy, I mean, we are LA's team. It's finally there. Forget the Super Bowl. Who cares about that? Head to head, in SoFi Stadium. It's a bold.
This is
It's
my favorite NFL storyline that's unfolding is Tate Frazier, Chargers season ticket holder, Chargers super fan.
right.
Will he go to a Chargers home game?
I went to 2 this season. I was locked in for every one of 2 wins. You know, and look, I paid for my parking and everything down there. So, like I said, I was there in spirit. I was going to go to the game, but as it inched closer, I was like, "Why is this game not at 4:00? Why is it at 1:00? Too close." Coming off New Year's Eve, I mean, come on. But again, bolts up, 4 in a row. Playoff. Nobody wants to see us, Titus. Nobody. everyone in the AFC,
including you, apparently.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody wants to see the Chargers.
You don't want to go see the Chargers.
I wish there was a playoff game I could go to, but we're not going to get home playoffs this year. But next year, right? We're building towards the future. Love Justin Herbert. Herbert came to the Carolina-Oregon game in Petco Park. That was cool. Love to see that. Drake, he got to see Drake May early. It felt very much like LeBron seeing Steph Curry in college. You know, it was like one of those moments where it's like, in a few years, that's my future rival right there. But anyway.
Drake May is officially can start talking to Ohio State now that our season's over. That's interesting.
He's got to go to the NFL next year. I mean, he's got one more year in Carolina Blue where we perennially let him down.
Well, I mean,
best calls you've ever seen. We had a guy that got flagged because he had to put on an extra jersey. Did you see this? We had on special teams. George Pettaway had to put on a 42 jersey. He's number 23 to receive the kick because we had another guy at 23 on special teams. He puts on a jersey. We didn't report it to the official, so we got a flag that ended up giving a first down to Oregon. This is real. This happened in a game. We literally would have gotten the ball back, and we were cruising up 10 in the fourth quarter. But instead, like things that aren't even possible.
I did see that because I think the broadcast cut to the tunnel, and Jeff Capel was standing there, and he just gave a little nod and then walked away.
And he dropped another like he did it again. I'm like, son of a bitch. This guy's everywhere. I've never seen anything like it. North Carolina football, they continue to lose in the most fascinating ways. I mean, we lost to Notre Dame in 2014. I was at the game in South Bend. We were dominating the entire game with Larry Fedora. We get a roughing the snapper on a kick that changes the entire game. I've never heard of that in my entire life. What the hell is roughing the snapper? No one knows. What the hell is this? Reporting the number to the official? I don't know. But that's what we do. So Carolina football, Drake May.
Why do you need to report, dude? I thought that's why the numbers are there. It's like it's on your jersey right there. Like, what do we?
I don't know.
Guy, yeah, like the guy is
very much replacements feeling where it's like, who's number 42? You know, and it's like he has no name on the back. It was ridiculous. So I've never seen that in my entire life. But anything is possible with Carolina football. So very sad. Hate to see it. Those are all my
I forgot to mention when I was talking about Ohio State football that I have officially unfired Ryan Day because a lot of people are asking me about that. Like, where does Ryan Day's employment status stand with you after losing to Georgia? Because I said I fired him after Michigan. We snuck into the playoff. I decided to unfire him and see what happens. I have unfired him and I've extended his contract by 1 game. So he get. I think Ohio State opens at Indiana next year, by the way, and for football. We'll see. So I'll give him 1 game. Open up the season on the road with a new quarterback, and we'll see what you're made of. You know,
I'm not gonna lie. He was coaching like he was coaching for his job. Like the way that he was reacting.
Oh yeah, dude. But that's like. But to bring it back to like Kentucky and Cal, like that was what Ryan Day was doing with Ohio State is what Kentucky fans want out of Cal is like quit making it like Ryan Day finally was like, I want to stop like trying to say the right thing in the press conference and stop trying to like be cutesy with all this and point to stats and you know run these goddamn bubble screens that like if in fact, by the way, Georgia running a bubble screen and scoring a touchdown on us was the most like flagrant sign of disrespect I've ever seen. Like I can't tell you. I'm so triggered by bubble screens, Tate, that I get bubble screen. They should be illegal. I want the committee to.
I think you and I should ban bubbles from our show. Like
ban bubbles. The bubble boys are killing us.
I hate bubbles. Like
I didn't realize Kirby Smart's a bubble boy, and he busts out a bubble screen. And I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me, dude?" After we ran 40 of these against Michigan and none of them worked, then the first one we see after that gets taken to the house. Are you kidding me? But finally Ryan Day like shows some passion and some energy, and he's like, I'm just gonna wear this. Like whatever happens with my team, I'm gonna wear it. And I think that's what Kentucky fans want out of Cal. Is like, just Cal, please, we're begging you, shut the fuck up and just like bring some actual passion and show us that you care. Like show us that if Kentucky doesn't make the tournament, that this is devastating for your life and your livelihood the way it is for us. I think about like when I watch Kentucky, and I don't want to do a Kentucky rant, but it is fascinating to me what's happening in Lexington, because I think about when I was at Ohio State, Coach Mata would say all the time when he would try to get through to the players, he's yelling in the locker room. He would just yell, "I can't care more than you." Like that was one of his favorite things to say. I can't care more than you. And I remember sitting there thinking like, this is so simple but kind of profound in a way that like the coach can't possibly care more about winning than the players, or the team's never going to do anything. The players have to care about this. And I feel like that's the mindset that the Kentucky fans have with Cal, is like, how the fuck do we care more than you, dude? Like, how is that where we've arrived, that we care about winning when you're the guy that's supposed to be like,
why
this makes no sense.
The culture to you. You're supposed to be setting the culture. Yeah.
Yeah. We're supposed to be sitting here responding to what you're doing. And instead, like, we're trying to, and I guess, to bring it back to the analogy of Ohio State football, that was where we were at with Ryan Day, and finally he brought it for this Georgia game. And I guess that's ultimately why, like, I'm upset we lost, but it's like, I don't know, man, moving forward, there's a sliver of optimism. Now we lose our quarterback and we'll see what happens there. But anyway, all right, I'll shut up. I had some other shout outs. I want to shout out Adam Silver's NBA. What this man has done is nothing short of genius. The way he's juiced the basketball tape. It's incredible. It's, you know, we live in the juiced era in a lot of ways in sports, and tip of the cap to a lot of these leagues. Obviously, Aaron Judge's home run race was. How about that story, by the way? That they literally come out and say that the Yankees were using different balls, and everyone's like, "All right, yeah, wink, wink, cool, whatever." Albert Pujols is dead, done, over. He can't swing a baseball bat to save his life, and then suddenly is hitting like one home run every 2 games.
Right. Everyone's like, "Are we sure this guy should retire?" And he's like, "I'm definitely retiring."
Yeah. So I respect the juice ball more than anyone else, and what Adam Silver has done with the NBA, where every single night 6 different players are scoring 50 points, and somehow the 14-year-olds on NBA Reddit, instead of going, "Huh, this is weird, I wonder what's going on here," they're saying there's never been more talent in the league ever. And what we're seeing out of these players is incredible. Donovan Mitchell had 71. That has my respect, but the numbers are inflated. There's some serious inflation going on in the NBA. And I don't know, man. It's wild to witness. It's wild to witness because it feels like I'm being kind of like lied to by people in basketball media that I thought were smarter than this, but at the same time, I don't know if they're doing a bit like that. Where they're like,
are you guys all in on it?
Are you in on it? Because yeah, is this a work or a shoot? I can't tell what's going on. Like, is like we all realize that this is bullshit, right? That like every single night someone's scoring 55 points a game. At a certain point, it stops being about how awesome the players are, and it starts being about like, okay, so what's going, like, clearly these defenses are getting neutered to an extent that like none of this is impressive anymore. If every single game someone's scoring 50, then a 50-point game isn't a 50-point game anymore, right? And then the NBA media people are like, no, wrong. This is sick. Because I think in December, I think it was KOC said that I think I saw his tweet that they set the record for the most 50-point games in NBA history for individual players in this past December, the month of December in NBA. I think was
it all started. It all started in the bubble. I mean, TJ Warren had 50 in the bubble, and everyone went crazy. And I feel like the Adam Silver, NBA said, we need more of this. We need more 50-point games. People love it. And now it's gotten to the point where 70 points is the new 50 points. I said that to you a while ago, but that's why Donovan Mitchell has my respect, because he did it on 34 shots. And now he goes to the free throw line, makes 20 free throws. But in general, after the game, I was really first off, I love this Cavs team in general. I'm a big fan of this version of the Cavs. But after Donovan Mitchell's like, shout out to my teammates. I know I had 71, but it was kind of like within the flow of the game. If you could score 71 points within the flow of a game, the ball is juiced. The game is juiced.
The ball's juiced.
Offense is juiced, right?
Yeah,
that's it.
The rims are too big. There's a lot of ways you can juice a basketball, by the way. A lot of ways. I won't go into them here. Just Google them. It's not that I'm not going into them because I can't think of them. I can think of them. I have like 8 different reasons on the tip of my tongue. I'm just not going to say them. I'm not going to do your job for you. You, the listener, have to go look that up
Is
yourself.
Donovan Mitchell
do your own research?
Cavalier ever? That's really the question that I have.
Whoa.
I think so. I mean, he took the reins within 3 months.
Who would even? I mean, I don't know. That's a great question.
Is it Mitchell or Kyrie? I mean, you tell me Kyrie hit the biggest shot, but I mean,
Brad Doherty.
Ooh, Brad Doherty. Mark Price.
Mark Price is up there. Craig Elo, obviously.
Obviously.
I think Larry Nance has to be up there.
Right. Cold-blooded.
Yeah, I mean, won the first slam dunk contest, right, in a Cavs uniform.
Right.
So, that certainly comes to mind. Yeah, I'm obviously a little tongue in cheek talking about the NBA, but at the same time I'm not, and that's where I've arrived with as I ask all the NBA media, are we being serious or not serious? I'm trying to figure that out with myself, where it's like, I mean, I am impressed. I don't want to say like 50 points is not impressive and 60-point games are not impressive, but at the same time, like, it's hard to care when every single night multiple people are scoring 50 points in a game.
Right.
It's crazy.
Right. Like I have a feeling that someone is going to go for the Wilt record at this rate, and that someone is going to be Luka Doncic.
And it's
has the ball in his hand enough to do it.
And it's weird that if you raise this concern, you come across as like a hater or like an old head that like wants to go back to the slugfest where it's like 71 to 64 NBA games, and that's not exactly what I want. But yeah, I mean, it would be cool if defense mattered again. And I get the, like, you know, like the people that drink the NBA Kool-Aid say that these guys are trying, you know, because like if you're an NBA hater, you're like they don't even try on defense. And they certainly do not try. I think it's irrefutable that they do not try as hard as college players try defense. They don't. I don't understand. God damn it! I'm gonna make this show so much longer than I planned on it, but I don't understand how if more of a college guy was to say they don't try on defense in the regular season in the NBA, I would get attacked as a hater, as a guy who obviously doesn't know what he's talking about. You don't understand how skilled these guys are on offense in the NBA these days. You have no idea what you're talking about. Yada, yada, yada. But then at the same time, if I was to say something like, I think the Grizzlies, because they have a great record, could win the NBA title, that would get a lot of pushback because they'd be like, yeah, okay, so they win games in the regular season, but wait till the playoffs when like defenses are turned up and like this, you know, I'm like, you said defenses are already turned up and they're, so I don't understand. We live in both of those worlds, but also, yeah, I would love, whether it's because the guys are skilled or not, whatever the reason, I don't care how we got here. I just want like, I want defense to be played in the NBA. I understand the position we've got in, like it's impossible to guard some of these guys. I'm just saying like maybe bring hand checking back, maybe bring back, yeah, I don't know.
That's
physical shit. Like
they could do, in general, is to get rid of the 3-second rule and to bring back hand checking. So then Rudy Gobert can just stand underneath the basket and swat the shit out of everybody.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
I think you're right.
Like that's the way to fix the NBA, in my opinion.
I think you're right. I seriously do think something has to be done to it because it's you're doing your players a disservice when Donovan Mitchell has 71 points, and I'm not 100% like holy shit that's incredible and wanting to call people. My first thought is like, all right, but what was the context? And I need to know more. You know, and that's insane that the league has arrived there where the Giannis is 40 and 20 every night, it feels like, and LeBron is 4. You know, it's just like what are we doing here? What are we? I remember when scoring 25 points in a game was good, and now it's
like your third best player has 25. You know,
DeMar DeRozan I think had 44 in the Donovan Mitchell game. Right. Nobody gives a shit.
Right.
Nobody cares. Yeah. I scored 44 points
in the whole game, basically.
Yeah, he scored 44 points in the game. Nobody cares. My final shout out, and this is an important one. I should have led the show with this, is Kathy. I don't know what her last name is, but she makes a damn good chocolate chip cookie, and she was selling it at the Rose Bowl. And I went to my first Rose Bowl Tate yesterday.
Nice.
It was an impromptu thing. No rhyme or reason. I woke up. I thought I live in LA. I've always wanted to go to the Rose Bowl. I was gonna go to the Ohio State one last year, but my girlfriend's brother's house burned down like right before the game in Colorado, and there was like emotional turmoil amongst the family, and we were just in a weird spot. And like and then also I thought we were still gonna have to wear masks at the Rose Bowl, if I remember right. There was still like some doubt as to whether California would allow. Yeah. So and then on top of it, like the Ohio State vibe leading up to that Rose Bowl last year was not great, and everyone is opting out, and the program was like, we don't even want to be here, and yada yada yada. So like, I think I'll sit this one out. But I've lived in LA for a while. I've never gone to a Rose Bowl. I woke up yesterday and I was like, you know what? I should just do it. There's no reason not to go if I live here and I have nothing else going on, and it would be fun. I want to go check out my first Rose Bowl. Bought the cheapest ticket, sat at the top of the stadium. Wasn't a bad seat. Great stadium in that regard. Bathrooms leave a lot to be desired, if I'm being honest. Not Mackey Arena. It is Mackey Arena in that there's not a bad seat in the house. Not Mackey Arena bathrooms though. Not my standard of bathroom. But there was so in the second half, Penn State starts pulling away a little bit. Cam Rising gets hurt in the Rose Bowl yet again. And Penn State starts pulling away a little bit, and it starts raining, which is bullshit because that's not part of the Rose Bowl experience.
Right.
And I don't care
so much in LA. It's been honestly, it's been ridiculous.
And I don't care about either team really. I was definitely cheering for Utah. You will not find me cheering for Penn State football in any way, shape, or form. I'll cheer for Penn State basketball. I like Micah Shrewsbury. I will not cheer for Penn State football under any circumstances the rest of my life. So I was cheering for Utah, but I didn't really care that much. And Penn State starts winning, so I'm like, might be time to leave. Let's get the hell out of here.
Right.
So I'm leaving, and as I'm walking out, there's this cookie truck, Tate. There's a truck selling cookies. That's all they sell. And I'm seeing these people leave the truck of cookies with literal buckets full of cookies. There are 36 cookies in a bucket, a little plastic bucket of cookies. And I'm saying to myself, there's a long walk back to the car. We're in the rain. I am a fat man at heart, even though I get skinny shamed every time I post a picture of myself on the internet. It's because I'm trying to outrun my fat self. And I see this bucket of cookies, and I'm like, you know what? I think I'm going to get some cookies. And I wait in line. I get the bucket of cookies, Tate. And when I tell you this is the best chocolate chip cookie I've ever had in my life, and I'm a man who has eaten, I'm a fat man. I have eaten, I've driven multiple miles out of my way to go to places that I've heard of good cookies. I've gone on quests for good cookies before in my life. Kathy's Cookies at the Rose Bowl was I was eating these cookies on the drive home, and I was the guy on the flight saying I want to shake her hand. That was all I could think. I was like, Kathy, I want to shake her hand. So I have no choice but to shout her out. I don't know who this woman is. I looked up the website. They I think they only do food trucks like around LA. They don't even have a store anywhere. It's just like they go to like sporting events and concerts and shit. And there's a tab on the website that's like our products, and you click on the our products, and it's just pictures of cookies. There's no description of what the products are. There's no like you can order in this way, shape, or it's just like you click the picture and it's cookies, and then you can't click on the cookies and it takes you somewhere else. It's just our products.
Cookies. That's what we have. Yeah, we sell buckets of cookies. Like you come get them, you come find us, we'll give it to you.
Anyway, I'm not one that usually wants to shout out concession items after I go to sporting events, but this was an exception. And Kathy, your cookies are insane, and I want to shake your hand. That's all I want to say. So if anyone can put me in touch with Kathy of Kathy's Cookies, I just let her know I love her. Really, that's it. I just want her to know that she's loved, and I just want to give her a big
program
hug.
Officially.
Yeah, friend of the program. She's a friend of the program. Kathy, come on the show and let's talk about your cookies.
Okay. We'll come there and do a show at your cookie stand.
If you're ever any of the friends of the program, if you're ever in the LA area and you are at some event and you see Kathy Cookie Truck, you go up there, you order yourself a bucket, you tell them Titus sent you. They will have no idea what the fuck that means. Doesn't matter. Tell them anyway. Get the bucket. Thank me later. There you go.
I love it. That's a great final shout out.
That's it. We're back, dude. We're back. I'm excited. No more holiday breaks, right? Or do we take Valentine's Day off? I can't remember.
We do not. Honestly, taking off like that week after Christmas felt like we took off 10 weeks. You know what I mean?
It really did.
It was really stupid. 1 week, but I feel really like I felt disconnected from the world, and it's nice to be back and talking to you about what's happening in the sports world. I needed a confidant, and that's what this show is for. You know, you and
I had part of me was. Part of me is like, why did we take off? We should do the show because I know you and I were texting and calling each other in the off week anyway, talking about all the shit we were watching. But I was like, why are we not doing a podcast? And then I listened to Kyle on Russillo's show, and Russillo goes, the one where Sarah Walsh was on the show not too long ago. It was right before New Year's. And Rusilla goes, Kyle, do you have any New Year's plans? And Kyle goes, I'm working. And Rusilla goes, I can't help but think that that's a dig at me and Bill. And Kyle was like, yeah, kind of. Yeah, that's kind of what it was.
Yeah.
And I hear that.
As someone who's been there recording those episodes the day after Christmas, one time I did it on Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. Kyle, I love you. I feel you. I commiserate. What a time.
So I guess that's where I was reminded. I was like, why are we taking off? And I was like, well, maybe Jim's not quite as happy to come back and do the show, and some of the crew we have at Fox, maybe they're not quite as pumped up to work on a holiday as Tate and I would be.
Maybe just get to hang with your family for a little bit.
But unfortunately for them, we do not give a shit about Valentine's or St. Patrick's. Or President's Day or whatever the hell else we have between now and a national championship. We are back on our normal schedule. We are ready to rock. So we're going to do that. Thanks for listening, everybody. We will see you later this week.
Happy 2023.